everybody. I am your host. This is Jessica Koch, and this is Profound Professionals. It is the interview series that has been coming to you for 8 years now. We bring industry experts from all over the globe, and they help improve your personal life or grow your business. Today, I have two very dashing gentlemen. I have Bob. He is recently retired, and after a 50-year career as a psychiatrist, a naval office, an engineer, a consultant, and a business leader, I think the only thing he didn't do was juggle at the circus. He's recently released his memoirs in April, and they are filled with insight stories and lessons learned. And we also have Daniel, and Daniel is super close to my heart. Poor Daniel, I pick on him all the time, but what he does is school safety professional, working to keep children safe in schools and really helping the school systems have a plan, right? Part of safety is planning. And Daniel is going to give us a lot of great insight on that as we go. So welcome to both of you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. Yeah.
We're going to go with safety first, Bob, and say, Daniel, tell us a little bit of your journey and how you got into talking to schools and having school safeties be your profession.
Well, a little bit of my background, I actually started with the Secret Service and worked there for 24 years. I was fortunate enough to stay in Washington, D.C. the entire time. I actually started with the end of the Reagan term, a long time ago, and finished up under Obama. And when I retired, I moved down here to Florida, and I was going to retire. And obviously, that kind of personality, I couldn't sit still. So I was fortunate enough the county school system here had a position for me in school safety. And I was hired and worked there for 4 years. And it was something we started slow because, safety from, we're going back to Columbine, and we don't have to talk about that, what happened there. But it's just something that as time has gone on, we want to keep schools safe. So I was fortunate enough, I had the people behind me that encouraged me. And we were able to do a few things with the lobby area, with training our teachers and actually our parents, not training our parents, but talking to parents about what you can do, obviously, to help your community and keep schools safe. So that's a journey I took. And we could talk a little bit. I don't know if you want to talk about the book now, but we could talk a little bit about why I wrote the book. After that tragedy in Uvalde, Texas, I was pretty upset, being former law enforcement myself. And it was just an anomaly. That's something that, you would never think happened, but it should never have happened. And so I wrote the book, and the book was basically just something to give confidence to teachers, administrators, and parents that there's no reason to really have fear or panic when an emergency happens. It's going to happen anyways. You're going to have that fight or flight response because no one really knows how you're going to react in some kind of emergency. But I wanted to give them the confidence that, look, if we follow this scenario, that we follow this drill, this training, you're going to be okay. So I wanted to give the teachers, parents the confidence that if something happens, whether it's in school or in your own personal life, you're going to be able to handle it. It'll be okay.
Well, and we have that in fire drills if there's a fire. And when I lived in, I was an elementary school in Laguna Elementary in California. And I was actually there at the time Mount St. Helens went off. And I also, they had earthquake drills and things like that, right? And, so there is, you practice this, you have a plan, you practice the plan on some level that's, healthy and not overwhelming for the children or the teachers. And then things can turn out better if the worst case scenario occurs than not, right? And I think that that's a wonderful thing to give. And, you talking about even like the mindset and a mental plan, I think that's a great segue into our other guest, Bob. So Bob, you've done, I feel like a juggling of lots of different things, a psychiatrist, a naval officer, an engineer, a consultant, a business leader. I feel like, wow, what ball is in the air? Give us a little bit of your background and how you were led into some of those careers.
You bet, Jessica. And actually, it's a physicist, not a psychiatrist.
Oh my gosh. Well,
so
that makes a big difference.
It's a big difference. Yes, so a big difference. But I'll explain.
Some days I can read. Some days I can read what I type.
Not a
all
problem.
days.
Not a problem. So I was actually I was born in '51, so I'm 73 years old now. Just retired. But born in Brooklyn, New York, Long Island, New York.
My husband too.
Yeah.
Well, he was born in Queens, and they had family in Brooklyn and things. But he grew up on Long Island, so Long Island.
Well, I'm probably a bit older. But could be his dad. But then after graduating college in Manhattan at Hunter College, I was actually recruited by the Division of Naval Reactors to teach at the Naval Nuclear Power School. In '75, kind of moved down to Orlando and spent 4 years there. Then kind of leaving active duty, actually moved up to Columbia, Maryland. And spent a while there, got relocated out to San Diego, then relocated back to Columbia with a promotion. Then left that company, joined another consulting firm, wound up in Sacramento, California, then back down to San Diego, and then ultimately here where I live, which is Las Vegas. And I kind of wanted to have a home base with plenty of opportunity for great food and entertainment and everything else. But Jessica, people describe my career more as a career lattice than a career path. I've tried a lot of different things, and it's all progressive, but it in fact gave me an opportunity to kind of really exercise a lot of my interests. So getting a bachelor's and master's in physics and another master's in environmental engineering, and then having an opportunity to consult in engineering. I did tons of training, adult training, mostly technical training, and then ultimately kind of a progression of executive positions over the years.
So physicists, that makes me first think of the Big Bang, right? Did you watch the Big Bang?
Well, actually, I sure did. And actually, the Big Bang is a good representation of what it's like to get a few kind of physics majors, physicists, and engineers, and graduates. That's a lot of that conversation resonates with me. And we actually were a fun bunch of people, kind of geeky for sure. But that also got me into chasing total solar eclipses, which I've done for years. The first one was sitting around like they sit around and talk. And we said, well, there's going to be a total solar eclipse up in Canada. This is, if you know the Carly Simon song, he flew his Learjet to Nova Scotia to see a total eclipse of the sun. Well, that's what got me started. We drove kind of a Volkswagen Bug in a minibus up there from New York City, but I would have much rather gone on a Learjet. But we were starving college students at that point.
I think you had more fun, I'm sure. Daniel, tell me, are you actually taking on and working with customers? So do you work with some of the school systems and their staff, or are you mostly just promoting the book as a resource and a tool for them?
It's mostly a tool and resource. No, this consulting, I was talking to Bob earlier, and that kind of went to the point where you would ask schools, even private schools, churches, businesses, hey, do you need help? Here's my background. Here's what I can do for you. And at most it's like, no, we got it. It's okay. We got it. And I part of this is, I'm sure, is partly denial. You really don't want to deal with this. And it's a hard subject. It's something, that, you don't want to feel you're in danger. You don't want to feel that, oh, we're vulnerable. So it's a real balance. But no, now it's just promoting the book, doing some podcasts, going to some of these conferences. But no, it's just basically, my whole thing is, I started with talking with teachers, but teachers would come back and say, look, I'm getting orders from above. I agree with what you're saying, but it's not working for me. Okay. So on most podcasts, I'll talk to the audience of parents. Look, it's not like years ago you would drive your kids to school and drop them off. We got it. I got to go to work. I'll see you later. You have to find out what's going on. How are they running their emergency drills? What are they doing for certain drills? If you get that gut feeling that I don't think I agree with my child doing certain things, you have to speak up. And as you know, most parents groups now go to school boards. They have the power to talk to a school board, to talk to the teachers and legislators saying, this has to change. I need to keep my child safe. We're very fortunate. We're in the summer now. So that, I agree, it's in the background, which it should be. But just prepare as it comes up here. They're going to have to start running their drills here end of August, September. Find out. Talk to your kids. I know what it's like. I got a teenager. You got 2 seconds. They're gone. You don't sit at the table anymore as a family. That's years ago. Just ask them. How are they running the drills? What is it you're doing? I don't care if they're elementary up through high school. And find a funny feeling. The red flag goes up. I don't know if I agree with that certain way you're doing it. That's when you talk to your school.
Your conduit is twofold, possibly the PTAs, the heads of the PTAs, because they're really motivated to be involved and know what's going on. So the PTA might be a great resource for you. And then the other thing that might be possible is if you set up or work as an umbrella under another nonprofit, because there's definitely federal funding that would then provide your books and programs and materials to the school systems. So whether they could admit or were comfortable enough to talk about the subject that they have a problem or not, they could get the solution. So those are some things that I could see really, really working for you. How about you, Bob? Are your consulting days over? Are you working with people? We know you've released your memoir. We're going to be talking about that in just a few minutes, but what are you doing now to work with the business community and support the community, and who are you kind of attracting to you, and how do you want to play in that world right now, Bob?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a great question, Jessica. And in fact, I see it right now as kind of the give back. Like I said, I'm 73. I'm healthy. I'm vital. I think I probably have a good 15, 20 years left in me before you can package me up and sit in a corner or something. So it's give back. So I'm doing kind of different elements of the give back. I think the first part of that is I'm doing some coaching and mentoring and two different flavors. I actually have some young adults, college. They are looking for kind of a mentor or a coach, somebody who can actually kind of listen to them and maybe kind of prepare them for business. So I actually have a few folks who are in college, and I've been doing some panel work in terms of they want some experts from the outside to come in and do some panels. So I'm doing that. And then also in college, especially I graduated from the University of Central Florida with my second master's, the one in engineering. But they have me in as a judge. So at the end of senior year projects where they're doing judging of those projects, so I do that. And then I'm also mentoring several individuals who are kind of at that point where they've just been promoted to a manager or a director, especially in consulting firms. And it's like, where am I? Where am I going? What does this mean? I'm struggling with 18 different things. Not only the technical part of my job, but the people part of my job. And I've addressed all of that throughout my career. So I'm doing some coaching of those folks, and then I'm still providing advisory support for several organizations right now who they were in the startup mode. One was I joined them when they were doing probably $4 or $5 million worth of business. Now they're doing closer to $45 million and getting ready to go out for an acquisition, be acquired. So I've lived that dream several times. So I'm helping them. And then right now I'm in the community. So I'm especially in LinkedIn. You can find me in LinkedIn. And I'm trying to actively participate in, discussions, and when questions are asked, or some guidance, especially in an area of passion that I have right now, which is the power of curiosity. And then I just was named a fellow in the Global Curiosity Institute there in Belgium. I'm now a fellow of the Institute, and provide additional support for them. They're looking to develop maturity models. How do I know both personally and in business, what my level of curiosity is? How do you encourage that? What do the results look like? How do I measure it? And so, it's been a fun time, especially when I'm not taking any money. So nobody can tell me, well, you got this milestone, Bob, or let's meet this objective, or, I've got a business meeting in Europe that I want you to attend virtually, and it's at 3:00 in your morning because I'm on the Pacific Coast. It's like, how about no?
So now you have some freedom to do some of the fun things that you want to do. Now, when you help a business, are you really helping them with profit growth and looking at how to increase profits? Or is that your expertise, or what's your expertise when you're advising or giving some support mentor wise to a corporation?
That is an absolutely great question. And I'm not I don't focus on profit as my advisory. What I focus on is how are you going to build your business? Okay, are you providing the right services in the right manner? How is it resonating? Are you in fact competing in a way that you're going to be able to grow your business, prosper in the future? I do give them some advice about kind of managing costs and what their profitability is, but mostly it's growth, because most of the folks I'm advising are not large corporations. They're small, they're startups, they're ones that are in that heavy growth mode, and they just need maybe somebody who's been there, done that, to bounce ideas off of, or give them some advice, and that's what I am.
Well, advice, that's right where we're going to go. Daniel, can you give us a tip for parents or PTAs or teachers or schools or whoever you think needs the biggest tip from you to help with this process?
Well, usually what I say, and again, this is something not just with schools, but in life, it's basically keep yourself safe, and then you can help others. We've had some issues with, incidents that have happened at schools where individuals have got, and we're not going to go into details of that.
Sure.
However, I tell people, look, when you're in some kind of emergency situation, your first thing should be keep yourself safe first. Go running towards something if you're not prepared, or I say the same thing. I try to make a adjustment or not a metaphor, as if you're in a plane and that oxygen mask drops out. What do they tell you? You put that mask on yourself first, then you can help a child or an elderly individual. So that's my tip. You keep yourself safe first when you're dealing with some kind of emergency, then you're going to be able to help others.
Well, I think one of the things that sticks in my memory from our conversations in the past are also, it never occurred to me that locking the classroom door, something as simple as turning lights off and locking a classroom door in, when an unexpected and undesired situation occurs. It's one of the small, easy things that can be done that, I don't think everyone, that's not a knee-jerk reaction unless you're taught that, like in a fire drill. They teach you. We've been drilled into our minds. Stop, drop, and roll, right? Stay close to the ground. Feel the handle of the doorknob. We have all those little tricks in our mind around that kind of unwanted emergency. And I thought that was a fascinating and easy to share one from yours. Bob, how about you? Can you give everybody out there, it can be a business tip, it can be a life tip, it can be, a physics related tip. I don't know.
No
but probably not a psychological tip, as I got that totally wrong.
No problem. Kind of an interesting tip from the conversations that I've been having with, like I said, the younger folks that I've been providing some coaching and mentoring to. because again, I had a kind of a 50-year career, and like I said, I probably, in terms of pro bono, will have another 10, 15, 20 years, hopefully. But they are going to have 60 to 70-year careers. Okay, somebody who is at this point certainly a younger millennial, but for sure a Z or an alpha generation, they easily can have 60, 70-year careers. And so the real question is, how do you picture that career? Do you picture that career linear? I'm going to do this and then this and then this and then this, or do you start preparing yourself for the career that I think I've had, which is, like I said, a career lattice, doing different things, kind of moving around, following interests, always progressing, but not necessarily linear. And so you have to prepare yourself for several other different traits. You really have to kind of broaden your thinking, apply your expertise. Where you're going to get that expertise. Be curious, explore. Do all of those kinds of things, because every single one of those, although it may seem, I talk in a book about, all of the useless information that I've accumulated over my lifetime, that, ultimately becomes quite useful when you need it. But you didn't know that you were going to need it when you accumulated it, but you might as well accumulate it. So my advice is, think about, I'm going to have a 60, 70-year career. I need to be kind of preparing for that every single day, continuously learn, be curious, and really don't worry about accumulating useless information, because the likelihood is at one point in that 60 or 70-year career, it's going to be incredibly valuable.
That's exactly right. Even if you're just playing trivia, you could win that final piece of the pie.
There you go. Exactly.
I love the be curious. And you know what? What I have found is I am constantly learning new things about technology. And then as soon as I learn it, I am teaching it. I'm building an online course about it. I'm training about it. I mean, I learned it yesterday, right? And then I go and speak. I build out a presentation, and you would think I invented it, because it just excites me that much. It interests me, the whole AI and the technology and all of the automations and the systems and how they talk together and how you can make them work together for you. And did you know it could do this? I get very excited, and then I want to show everybody that. So I think curiosity is learn it and then teach it immediately is my.
I love that. That's exactly right. And Jessica, I'll add one additional thing, because everybody kind of complains about how quickly technology is changing, and et cetera, et cetera. When I was in the 60s, I was, again, kind of a science major and then a physics major. I started on a slide rule. Most people don't even know what that thing is. But it's a piece of bamboo that you can do very, very, very sophisticated mathematical calculations on. And now I'm carrying a kind of an iPhone 15 Pro Max that has more power than probably any computers in the 70s and 80s. And so certainly access. So talk about revolutionary change. That's revolutionary change. This is all incremental change, all daunting, but it's like, just do exactly what you said. Learn it, try to teach it, and then just use it.
That's right. That's right. Just do it. And, and also don't be afraid. And I don't usually talk about my own business, but have a team. Like we have a virtual assistant membership program. I have about 100 VAs globally that help our clients all over the world. So I learn a bit about something enough, and then I have my team implement and do all the rest. I get excited about what it can do and play with it enough just to be dangerous. And they say, oh, team, do this. And then they go do it. And sometimes they never knew it before either. They're just learning it, but we learn together. I pay them to learn, and they get excited about that. And then we're implementing and testing and trying things out. And then suddenly we're getting paid to do it for other people, right? So it's very, very fascinating. So Daniel, your whole everything, you're such an inspiring individual to me. I can't even express it. I'm the Italian mother of 7, and I have 8 grandchildren. So I've had kids in Montessori school, private school, public school, homeschooled, every kind of school under the sun you can see. We've been through it. And so what you're doing really is close to me. And it's a cause all on its own. But one of the things I'm very proud of about Profound Professionals is we take a moment of pause, which we're about to do here. And so if you're watching from wherever you're watching, as we stream this, put in the comments the cause that you care about that's close to your heart, and hit the share button and invite people to watch this, because we want them to know about your cause. But most importantly, we want to inspire people to give time, treasure, or talent to something bigger than themselves. Maybe it's a cause close to their heart. Maybe it's the one that our guest here will share today. Maybe it's the one you wrote in the comments. Who cares? If a great act of kindness happens from you hitting the share button, hero on you. So thank you for that. So Daniel, tell us a cause that's close to your heart.
Well, I won't say it's not a cliche. I grew up on a farm and always involved with animals. And just a short story. I remember taking a philosophy class, and they were talking about farmers and having animals that are going to be food. How do you deal with that? You're going to be killing these animals because there's chickens and cows and pigs and all this stuff. And I got emotional, and this was an online thing. And I came back and I said, you do not understand the love that a farmer has for his animals, even knowing they're eventually going to be food. So I'm only saying that because, you grow up with animals and then dogs and cats and stuff. And of course, when I was in the Secret Service, I had the fortune to be in the canine unit, which dealt with going in front of the president, checking for bombs. And he was also a police dog trained. In fact, I have him as a tattoo on my arm. Anyway, it would be something to do with the ASPCA, something to do with dogs and cats. I'm sure there's organizations out there that nuance, but that's my passion for animals.
I bet there is a nonprofit specifically for canine helper dogs, the ones that help police and that are in the space of protection dogs. And there is it comes to mind, I think it's 4-H Club, right? That is a really great cause that it has a lot to do with farming and animals and the farm space for children, especially tie right into the school love that you have. I think that's another really great one. So thank you, Bob. You got a cause that's close to your heart?
I think I do, actually, several of them, but the one I think I want to kind of talk about is the Sierra Club. And so I'm actually a life member. I'm a wilderness guardian. I'm a member of the Sequoia Circle. I contribute and participate, but they have a great mission. Obviously, they want to preserve the planet for future generations. You can't get much better than that.
Can't argue about that one. No controversy there. I say just about everyone says yes. We need to take care of our home. Very important.
And it's not obvious to everybody that they need to do that, because these are kind of big things that have to be addressed. And it's very curious because in the 1960s, as a baby boomer and kind of growing up in the 60s, we became very aware of the environmental impact of everything that we were doing, in the 40s and 50s and 60s. So the youth, me back then, a teenager, really kind of embraced that, up to including the fact that like I said, I got a master's degree in the 1970s in environmental engineering, and so. This is something that's been kind of a lifetime kind of commitment of mine. And like I said, I give them a substantial amount of money every year and have been doing that for years and years. And I think it's an important cause and an important organization. And you can actually get involved with it actually right in your state, your county, your kind of local area, go on hikes. Get close to the get kind of close to the environment. I think it's really key that they are so all encompassing.
You'll really enjoy. Check out my website with some of my past interviews on it. And I had recently had a guest on. I wish I could remember his first name. How terrible me! I've almost interviewed 1,000 industry experts globally, but he is about green investing, and so he talks about how that works. And if you, it started making me think about what everything, what this necklace is made of, and what is my shirt made of, and what is the treadmill I run on made of, and like, and all of those different components, and investing from a green standpoint, right? Because we do need to have materials, we need to wear clothing, we need to have things in our house, but the perspective of that, and I think you'd really appreciate that. So that's what that made me think of. I really love the cause you shared. Thank you for that. You guys are both amazing authors, but before we talk about your books, hey, you guys out there, give us a book that wasn't written by you, that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business. Put it in the comments, hit the share button, and if you're an author, put that in there too, because we're going to cover all of that with Daniel and Bob now. So Daniel, tell me a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business that you didn't write.
It's called The Unthinkable, and it's done by Amanda Ripley. And she is an author. I mean, this was an older book. What happened, I don't even know how I turned on to this. I don't know if someone suggested it to me, whatever. It's called Who Survives When Disaster Strikes and Why? And she went back and she interviewed people who went through the Oklahoma City bombing, who went through 9/11, who have gone through kidnappings,
Traumas,
all kind of stuff. And come to find out, through all these scenarios of these type of emergencies, everything from floodings, and I'm sure she probably people that dealt with Mount St. Helens, how they reacted. And she found out that everyone usually reacts the same way. And sometimes you react according to your job. Law enforcement, doctors, nurses, firemen, they go to the emergency. Will do whatever their job is or whatever their training or their background is. So it was really interesting to me about this, especially when she talked about 9/11 and some of the heroes there that helped. One of them, in fact, the gentleman, if I can't remember his name off the top of my head, he worked for one of the banks there, whether it was JP Morgan or Chase. And they were up on, like, I don't know, 15th, 20th floor. Well, he would run fire drills, walking down the, he didn't care what your position was, president, vice president, whatever. We're going. We got a fire drill. Here it is. We're going. And he'd walk them down the stairs through all that stuff. And then when 9/11 hit, he got everybody in that office out. Everyone. I don't know.
Because they all practiced it and they all remembered. It is an imprint for sure.
Even though you roll your eyes and, oh no, another fire drill.
Yeah.
Well, all those people, and tragically went back in and looked for more, and he didn't survive. But it's just, no one knows, again, like I said, how you're going to react in an emergency. We just try to prepare as best as possible.
And all those stairs, man, that's great exercise too. So what a wonderful book to share, and what a wonderful hero to highlight. So thank you for that. How about you, Bob? A book not written by you, but it inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business.
Yeah, and it's a book called Control Your Destiny, or Someone Else Will.
Good title.
It's written by Noel Tissue and Stafford Sherman about Jack Welch. Now, so this is back in the late 80s, early 90s, when GE was the poster child great company. And actually, at the back of it is a handbook for revolutionaries. And I read the book back 30 years ago, and then used the handbook to actually reorganize several of the consulting firms that I was working with. Cool. And so it stuck with me kind of for the last 30 years. But I actually kind of wrote down there's 6 rules for business leaders. And I'll read it so that's in the podcast. So control your destiny, or someone else will. So the title. Face reality as it is, not as it was or as you wish it were. Be candid with everyone. Don't manage, lead. Change before you have to. That's a really interesting one. And then if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. Which is the one thing that I take into my advisory when I'm sitting down with somebody, and I really want to know, number one, who they're competing with, how they're competing, and are they actually do they actually have a competitive advantage? So I think those are some of the key takeaways, and I've kind of lived my whole around those. And I refer to this book. It's still sitting in my bookcase, although I've got like one physics book left and a couple of engineering books left, and and a handful of business books. But this is the one that survives everything, because I still refer to it. When I'm advising somebody. In fact, one of the mentees that I have right now, she's a director in a consulting firm, and we talked about this book and those 6 elements, and she said, of all the things that we've been talking about, this is my major takeaway in terms of putting it into practice in my own organization, our own organization. So it was like, yeah, it still has life left in it.
Yeah, there are some things that are tried and true that just last the test of time, Bob. That's wonderful. Daniel, now let's deep dive into the name of your book and a little bit about your book that you want to share with everyone out there.
Sure. It's called The First 5 Minutes. You go on Amazon, you type that in, it'll come up in the first, 5 or 10, whatever, searches for you. The reason I called it that was FBI data shows that when you have an incident like that, it usually lasts between 3 and 5 minutes. And during that time, teachers, students, you're on your own. I mean, help is on the way. They're coming, but you're on your own. So we don't want to panic. And I know when I deal with teachers, they're just incredible people. One of the hardest jobs, obviously, in the world now, after we dealt with the pandemic and all that stuff. You want to keep those kids calm. Everything's okay. You're going to hear bad stuff, but help is on the way. We're okay. So in the book, I mentioned, and you already mentioned this about mental memory, implicit memory of having something you do that you don't even basically think about, like buttoning a shirt, tying a tie, putting your seatbelt on, and you don't even think about it. So I say in the book, look, the more you drill, it's going to become rote after a while. Okay, I know the classroom door is already locked. I turn the lights off, pull the blinds down, sit quietly on the floor. I silence my phone. We don't listen to any announcements. We do not open that door. Good guys are on their way. So there's really no reason to panic. Yes, there's going to be fear. There's going to be that fight or flight. You're going to be shaking. You're going to be scared. But there's really no reason to panic about it. And I really want to do that because, as we know, there are times when something happens, you're going to freeze.
And panicking outwardly in an upset manner is very detrimental to everyone around you and to yourself. It usually causes much more harm than going through a mental checklist of these are the 5 or 10 things I can do. Okay, I've counted all my fingers. That's everything I can do. Now I just have to take a deep breath and wait and hold tight, And so having, I think, that to hang on to is so very key. And I think that's the gift that your book gives everyone when less than good circumstances occur. So thank you so much for putting that into the world. And we will ask that you guys will go and check it out, and that you'll share it with someone, that you'll purchase it for someone, that you'll get it out into the world, help Daniel with his mission of keeping all of our schools safe and all of our beautiful children safe, because nobody ever wants to hear things like this happening. So thank you for that. Is there any closing comments about your book that you want to say?
I just said what I did was you can download it. It's a quick reference card, and I laminate them, and you can put this on your lanyard. Teachers all have lanyards with whatever. And on here again, we talked about if you forget something, your mind goes blank, and I just go through a list of a lockdown or a fire or a bomb threat or threatening just things that, I forgot number 2 or whatever, because you are going to forget things. I mean, your mind is scrambling and all this stuff. So it's just something that is easy. And the reason I did that was I had a doctor friend. They use these in emergency rooms because I said, for what? And she goes, oh my God. She goes, what if there's a code purple? She goes, we haven't. I got to look on the card. So it's just a quick reference card to remind you of something when you're panicking.
That was brilliant. That was a brilliant idea, Daniel. Thank you for that. All right, Bob. I've been on pins and needles. I want to hear all about this memoir of yours that's been released. Talk to us about your book.
Oh yeah, thanks, Jessica. And here it is. It's called My Curious Life. If my grandkids ask about me, tell them this. And you notice it says if, not when. I'm hoping. Okay. But it's published by Ibis Books, also on Amazon. And then you can get more information about the book on my website, mycuriouslife.net.
mycuriouslife.net. Wonderful.
So probably now about 2 years ago, grandkids, so a few years ago they were younger, and I'm trying to kind of explain a little about my life, and then you can imagine, they're not interested.
Well, they're little.
They're small, but. Okay, it's like, what am I going to leave them so that, when they do ask 10 years from now, they go, oh, Mom, tell me about Grandpa and what he did. Mom is probably not going to know. My daughter, she wasn't that interested when she grew up, and she's probably less interested now.
Well, people even who are interested in know you, most people don't grasp what a physicist does anyway.
And so what I try to do in the book is actually capture that. So it captures the 70 years. So I actually start off in the 50s, and it's not chronological. Kind of jumps around different subjects. It's kind of written in 4 different parts. So after a little introduction, it then actually describes my life as a 5-act play. And so, different aspects, what did I learn, and jumps around in terms of different things about me and how that got me to where I am today. But then the second part of the book effectively deconstructs Bob Danna. Okay, so I consider myself an intellectual. Okay, and so what is that? And how did I get there? And actually, I grew up in New York City. So the World's Fair was there in 64, 65. I went 17 times. And it changed my life. Obviously, it solidified my being a scientist, and then wanted to be a physicist, and then, et cetera. So, but I talk about that. I also deconstruct myself when it comes to being a physicist, a naval officer, because I left the service as a lieutenant commander, and then as an engineer, and then as a business leader. And so I deconstruct myself and give people a flavor. How do you, and so, like I said, people don't know what a physicist is. Well, I kind of try to explain that in a few pages. I mean, I'm not going to bore everybody to death. So, we're talking like 5-6 pages. But then kind of deconstruct myself further, because most of the time, especially when it comes to curiosity kind of comes in 3 different flavors. You're curious about the world, okay, and then you're curious about other people, and then you're curious about yourself. And so I kind of take the third part of the book and actually talk about personality assessments that I've taken in the past. What did that actually tell me? Is it accurate? And I kind of give a bit of a lighthearted view into. I actually left. I retired from Deloitte Consulting ultimately, and my last personality assessment was a business chemistry one. So I actually describe it all in detail. And then finally, the last part gets a little pointed. Because it's the titles of all the chapters in the last on the 4th part is called "Let's Talk About." So let's talk about traveling in the United States. Let's talk about traveling worldwide. I've been in 50 different countries, and so I met all kinds of people. But then also let's talk about politics. And then what did I learn in all of those things, and then what makes for a fulfilled life, a happy life. And so that's all kind of the grandpa sitting around the Thanksgiving table, and you don't want to hear anything more, but here it comes. And so and then I kind of wrap it up at the end. But I'm trying to actually capture the essence of me, okay, to pass on to my grandkids. And at the same time, it's actually written so that the reader's looking over my shoulder. Okay, so it's written in the first person to my grandkids. So it says your mom, your grandmother, your great grandparents. Jessica, I'm 100% Italian, Southern Italian. You said you were Italian.
I'm Italian. That's right.
So it's like, well, let's look at heritage. What does that mean?
Yeah, and I think you're leaving.
Captured in the book.
I think you're leaving an amazing gift. I really believe in legacy and teaching people the art of how to pass their stories down and how to have legacy in family and, have that be, money and knowledge and story and photos and, and art and songs and poems and paintings and, carpentry structures that the families are buildings they've made or land the families owned in the history of the family. And there's just so much more to legacy than, I want it to be money too, but there's so much more than that. And people aren't learning about how to pass that on. So one of my dreams is to create a legacy community that we mastermind about that. We teach about that. We talk about that. We talk about how to preserve it and how to pass it on. And we actually have a platform and a place to make it easier for families to pass it on and give outlines to structures of memoirs and life stories so that people can easily kind of fill it in if they're not like a inspired writer like you, Bob, and, don't take it on gung-ho without help. But this way we could have everyone's story. We could have all the aunt and uncle stories and all the grandparents' stories and all of the children's stories and start to teach the children to start writing their story as it unfolds so that they will have it to pass on for however many days they get blessed on this planet for the people who love and care about them. There's so many stories that get left untold, so many great humans that have made an impact on this world and have done profound things that you and I will never know about. Some in our own families. Some in our own genealogy, and we'll just never know about them because it wasn't captured in a way that we could have access to it. If you were my grandfather, I'd be thrilled that I had a book that I could go see, what made you tick, what you cared about, what your hobbies were, how you fell in love. All of those things are fabulous stories that are part, of if you were related to me, even be part of me. I think we're all connected as people, so I'm constantly reading other people's stories, great people's stories and documentaries and things, because I feel like they're all related to me on some level. We're all earthlings anyway, so we've got that going for us.
Well, and really funny, my brother had a birthday here recently, and I went to his birthday party, and he had a bunch of his friends in, and it wound up was named Damiano. Well, that's my mother's maiden name, and so he's in Sedona, Arizona, and so it was amazing that we started comparing notes. And this is probably a cousin 2-3 times removed, but it was the Boston clan. When they came over. So, but you're right. Yeah, I totally believe that, Jessica. You start doing that kind of six degrees of separation, then you're related to almost everybody. So it's great.
Everybody. Well, gentlemen, you have been such amazing and wonderful guests, and I hope you've enjoyed being on the show with me today. And if you're watching out there and thinking, hey, how can I get on this show that's been around for 8 years and is helping touch so many lives with so many brilliant experts, and you'd like to be one of those experts, well, reach out to us and our team, and we'll tell you just how to get on the show. Now, before we close out today, I would love you, amazing gentlemen, to give us a final thought, a piece of information or inspiration to close us as we go. Daniel, how about you? And thank you again for everything you're doing in the world. I think that you really are a shining light in our world, in a dark subject and in a dark place. And I thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And not many more advice than just basically keep yourself safe. I know that's, we run that over and over again, but most people go about their lives and they just want to not have any issues, just not have any problems. So I just want you to be aware. Again, we're getting close to when school opens. Talk to your children, find out what's going on, have the confidence. You can talk to the board. It'll be okay. But definitely don't just let it happen where I'm dropping them off at school. They got it. I got things to do. So it's definitely good to be involved with that kind of stuff. And, you know, because I've got a 17-year-old, and now luckily he did get accepted to college and he's going to be on his way. So, you know, while you do have young kids in school, just talk to them.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful advice. Thank you. How about you, Bob? What do you have for us as we close today out?
Yeah, and again, on that same topic of curiosity, I actually believe in my heart that curiosity drives all aspects of a happy and fulfilled life. So be curious and always skeptical. Curious has kind of two sides of the coin. Skeptical means you ask tons of questions. Always asking questions, always looking for more information. That's why you're labeled curious, and not just, oh, I'm doing a random walk through information, and then just never stop learning. If in fact there's a 60 or 70-year career ahead of you, you might only be able to predict the next 10, 15 years. That means there's 55 years of things that you have no clue about. So you better learn, and always learn.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Great advice, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being on the show again today. Thank you, everybody out there watching. As always, I am proud to be your host, Jessica Koch. This is our show, Profound Professionals. And until next time, be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Jessica.